Who are the best linebackers in the NFL entering 2022? What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch back here with another NFL rankings video. In this video, my top 20 linebackers in the NFL today. These are the off-the-line linebackers, the position that commands the defense, the general of the defense. This position is responsible for coverage, for run defense, and for blitzing and pass rushing. The modern linebacker has to be able to do it all. These are my top 20 off-the-line linebackers in the NFL. Before I give you my top linebackers in the league, don't forget to spike the like button and subscribe to the channel for more NFL rankings just like this. Also, get in that comment section below and let me know which linebackers you think are the best in the NFL today. Heads up, BLVers. One of my biggest goals this summer is to build a presence on TikTok. There will be exclusive content not found on YouTube on the BLV TikTok. So if you would like to follow the TikTok, make sure to check out the description. The link will be there, as well as in the pinned comment. Follow the TikTok and join the BLV community over there. Appreciate it, guys, and enjoy the video. The number 20 linebacker in the NFL today is Jordan Hicks, now of the Minnesota Vikings. Hicks quietly signed with the Minnesota Vikings this offseason after having a couple seasons of great success with the Arizona Cardinals, and previously before that, he played with the Philadelphia Eagles and was really good for the Eagles as well. Jordan Hicks, me having him at number 20, is basically claiming that this is a guy that's been really solid for a number of years. And honestly, this position is not a super loaded position. Jordan Hicks has proven to be a good, quality, reliable linebacker in all facets of the game. If you want him to blitz, he can blitz. If you want him to drop back into coverage, he can drop back into coverage. If you want him to be the signal caller of your defense, he can certainly do that. He's very, very smart. And he can also stuff the run. Jordan Hicks is just a do-it-all middle linebacker that really you can rely on in any scheme, in any defense, in any season. He's never been truly elite, but he's also never been below average. He's always been a quality player. And I thought he had one of his better seasons a year ago. I think he's going to settle the Vikings' middle of their defense and add a quality number 2 to Eric Kendricks in Minnesota. Give Jordan Hicks a little love. The number 19 linebacker in the NFL today is DENZEL PERRYMAN of the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, I could see a lot of people saying that DENZEL PERRYMAN is not a top 20 linebacker, but I am not you. The reason I have DENZEL PERRYMAN at number 19 is because I respect the way this guy plays football. He plays with a reckless abandon that you do not see in the modern NFL. This guy goes after it. He is hungry to tackle you. He wants to hit you. He wants to crush your soul. This guy is a missile running around the football field. At a smaller stature for a linebacker, he is pure muscle and pure energy. He brings energy to a defense, to the middle of the defense. He is one of the best in the NFL at tackling in space, and also one of the best in the NFL at finding, pursuing, and taking down that running back, receiver, whether it's in the screen game, the run game, whatever it is. DENZEL PERRYMAN's gonna find you and he's gonna tackle you. Now, he's not the greatest in pass coverage, but I think he's so good when it comes to pursuing the run game that I don't really care that much. And I do think that in the new system for the Raiders, he's going to be complemented well with some of their pass down linebackers and coverage linebackers, like bringing in Jayon Brown will certainly help him. I feel like DENZEL PERRYMAN is just such a heart and soul player that he had to belong on this list. My number 18 linebacker in the NFL entering 2022 is Bobby OKEREKE. And I understand I've been saying his name as OKEREKE for a while, but it's okay because Bobby OKEREKE is one of my favorite zone cover linebackers in the NFL. He complements Darius Leonard's playmaking style expertly, and he does a lot of the little things very well. He's not a big playmaker the way that Darius Leonard is, who chases the football and makes plays. OKEREKE is really good at carrying a receiver down the seam and zone coverage, and being able to run with slot receivers and receivers, being able to run with tight ends, being able to take away running backs. Really good in coverage, really smooth athlete, also very smart and able to diagnose the run game very well. I feel he'll be a great fit for Gus Bradley's defense in 2022 with as much cover 3 and as much zone coverage that this defense does play. I think it fits him perfectly. He's not the most physical or big linebacker in the world, but he fits the modern coverage game very, very well. My number 17 linebacker in the NFL today is the Cleveland Browns' Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, who everyone thought fell too far in the draft last year, and it turns out that those people were right. Everybody was right. He fell way too far. He is too good of a player to have not gone in the first round last year. As a modern linebacker who is built like a safety, who can cover really well, who can really cover ground very, very well, exceptionally well. That's the thing that impresses me the most. Right away, you saw his impact in the yards after catch department. He really limits a wide receiver, a tight end, a running back in open space. Great tackler, very rarely misses a tackle, but he also comes with more power for a guy of his size than you would think. He definitely packs a punch for a smaller linebacker. Built like a safety, can cover like a safety, but can hit like a linebacker. He perfectly fits what Cleveland does as that more cover 3 zone, but they've mixed in man lately style of defense of more of the Seattle variety, where they're not asking their linebackers to come downhill and smash the face of a center or a guard. They're asking their linebackers to cover. They're asking their linebackers to flow to the football, and that's what JOK does exceptionally, exceptionally well. Did not play as many snaps as a lot of these top linebackers in the game, which limits his placement on the list, but the glimpses that we've seen have been very, very nice, and I expect him to really take off in year 2. So this ranking is a bit conservative because I see superstar potential with this player. My number 16 linebacker in the NFL entering 2022 is the constantly underrated Jerome Baker of the Miami Dolphins. Every season feels like I'm talking about Jerome Baker as a top 20 linebacker, a guy that doesn't get enough respect for what he is able to do in Miami's defense as a very fast, fluid athlete who can not only cover space quickly and make great tackles and even cover a little bit, especially in man coverage, but also be able to blitz, be able to take on blocks, and be able to win at the point of attack. Very rare skill set that he possesses in the former Brian Flores defense, keeping this scheme moving forward under Boyer. I expect Baker to continue to ball with the Miami Dolphins. Stop sleeping on Baker. He is a great athlete, a great linebacker, and to me, he's only just beginning to peak. I love his game for his ability to not only rack up some pressures and some sacks and some big key plays in the passing game, but also being able to be the general in the middle that can defend the run as well. So Baker is my number 16. My number 15 linebacker in the NFL entering 2021 is CJ Mosley. CJ Mosley came back to the NFL in 2021, and in my opinion, he did not disappoint. Some people think he's washed. Some people think he is slowed down. Some people, PFF, will grade him poorly. But based on what I saw a great CJ Mosley last year. And every time he was in the lineup for the Jets, it was noticeable. Every time he was out of the lineup for the Jets, it was very noticeable. This defense changed. He was the team MVP for a reason. There is a reason that a defensive coach named his middle linebacker, a very smart middle linebacker, by the way, one of the most intelligent, high IQ linebackers in the game, the team MVP. There's a reason, because he elevated everybody around him. He truly was incredible in the run game, smacking people left and right, diagnosing the run game exceptionally, making a ton of tackles, and really just commanding this defensive scheme all over the place. Did he look a little slower coming back to the NFL in 2021? Did he look a little bit lesser in coverage? Yes, but I think in 2022, he may bounce back with another full offseason to get his body prepared, because it is a lot to miss a full season of the NFL. Basically 2 seasons, because he hadn't played since 2019 due to injury. So CJ Mosley is still awesome. Like, every time you watch him, especially as a Pats fan, ton of respect for him, for how he's able to get through blocks, get around blocks, and able to make tackles and make plays, and able to set up the rest of his defense. Team MVP of the Jets last year, my number 15 linebacker. My number 14 linebacker in the NFL today is Bobby Wagner of the Los Angeles Rams, which is very odd to say. I don't even know how to handle that, but we'll get through it. Bobby Wagner of the Rams now leaves Seattle and is looking to chase another ring with Matthew Stafford and company. Now, some of you are going to say, Mitch, Bobby Wagner this low? Are you serious? It's the great Hall of Famer. Yes, he's a Hall of Famer. Absolutely. One of the best of this generation, but he's no longer top 10. And the people that say and throw him in there as a top 5 linebacker, I don't know what they're watching. There's a reason the Seahawks let him go, because he's clearly, with his older age, a bit slower. He can't track down the football in open space the way he used to. He can't flow in coverage and run the way that he used to. He's really smart, like probably the smartest linebacker in the NFL. He is a great leader, and I take respect to all those things, and that's why he is this high on the list, because he's still really good at shedding blocks, really good in the run game. He's, I think, more powerful and stronger than people have ever thought, because he's not really like your typical Seattle scheme linebacker, but he is a stronger guy that could also be able to have the quickness and the speed to play in coverage, which is why Bobby Wagner was so rare. But now he's a little bit slower, but he's still good in that facet, very, very good in that facet. And I think he's going to elevate the Rams defense because of how smart he is, how fast he diagnoses things, and how he can command a room and command a defense on the field. So Bobby Wagner is still really good, but not as good as he used to be. My number 13 linebacker in the NFL entering 2022 is Jacksonville's Foye Oluokun, the newly signed former Atlanta Falcon and the NFL's leading tackler from a season ago. And that's all I gotta say. I mean, Oluokun was the leading tackler for a reason. This guy is relentless. This guy is very quick to the football, and he does not give up on a tackle. This guy just goes for it every single down, every single snap. He plays with a passion. He plays with an intensity of the best linebackers that you've ever seen. And Oluokun, I felt, was good for the last couple of years, kind of underrated. But this year, I felt he elevated his game to the next level in terms of playmaking, in terms of punching the ball out of the hands of a running back or a receiver, the ability to drop back in coverage and get a couple interceptions and make plays on the football, the ability to blitz and sack a quarterback and time a blitz and get the right angle and avoid a blocker. I felt like Oluokun just got a lot smarter, a lot more savvy, and I feel like he's starting to hit his peak, his prime, and I feel he's a really good linebacker. For whatever reason, he's still kind of underrated. I don't think people put the respect on his name that it truly deserves. He's a really good football player in a lot of different areas, especially in the run game, especially in pursuit, but he's also a pretty darn good playmaker as well. My number 12 linebacker in the NFL entering 2022 is Devin White of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Devin White, without a doubt, regressed in 2021. He was not very good last season and very inconsistent, especially in terms of his over-aggressiveness. There's a aspect of Devin White's game where he is so freakish, he is so fast, he is so explosive that he can become over-aggressive. And I felt like a lot of NFL offenses picked on him and took advantage of how aggressive he is, how quickly he can see something and almost see it too quickly, over-pursue, and then get beat. And that was Devin White's problem last year. He was just too confident. I felt like he was cocky in a way, because the year previous, he was amazing, unbelievable in certain games, and just took over in a way that linebackers rarely do in the modern NFL. And he still has flashes of that, and I believe he can get back to that level. He's very, very young, like still extremely young, and still growing and still learning. I think the thing with Devin White is, as soon as it clicks for him mentally every down, he is going to be an absolute force. The problem right now is that it's just a little bit too inconsistent. Sometimes it's incredible, sometimes it's a disaster, and he's got to find somewhere in the middle. But this is why I rank him number 12. When it comes to the run game, Devin White is an absolute animal. Like, this guy is all over things. His pursuit is unlike any other player. When he is on, he is an animal. Like, he's after it all the time. The screen game, non-existent versus Tampa Bay. He's too fast. He is too fast. And then when it comes to blitzing, he's one of the best in the NFL because of his explosiveness. I feel he was one of the most productive last year in that regard as well. Maybe Todd Bowles needs to teach him a little bit more on the nuances and relax him a little bit. But I feel like this year could be a big bounce back for Devin White, and he'll be back in the top 10 next year. The number 11 linebacker in the NFL today is Logan Wilson of the Cincinnati Bengals. Logan Wilson, I always thought was a quality linebacker, but it was not until the Super Bowl where I truly actually understood how awesome this guy can be and how awesome he really is. I mean, Logan Wilson, his all-around game is underrated. Like, I always thought of him as a great coverage linebacker, his ability to get into zones and be able to drop back into the right places, and great soft hands for a linebacker to be able to pick off passes, and really, really smart. But he's underrated in terms of his ability in the run game, in terms of his ability to take on blocks, in terms of his ability to shed blocks, in terms of his ability to tackle. Really good player. I feel like he's super underrated for his IQ, for his really command of the Cincinnati defense. Without Logan Wilson, this team does not get to the Super Bowl. You know, his play against the Titans, his play against the Chiefs. Logan Wilson is a really good, really underrated player that I think is well on his way to becoming a top 10 linebacker. Stop sleeping on this dude. Entering the top 10 linebackers in the NFL today, at number 10, Matt Milano, one letter away from being Matt Milani. Matt Milano of the Buffalo Bills. Matt Milano has consistently been a linebacker that, for whatever reason, does not get enough respect. And I've been one of the guys that has been saying year after year after year, like, Matt Milano is that dude. Matt Milano is that man right there. And I feel like this year he finally got a little bit more like love and respect and admiration. Like, for whatever reason, he wasn't getting it before. Maybe it's because he doesn't really look like a great linebacker. I don't know what it is, but he's one of the game's best cover linebackers in the league. They ask him to really do a lot of incredibly difficult things in Buffalo, whether it's covering tight ends one-on-one, covering the best running backs out of the backfield, being able to drop deep into zone coverages to cover up in a cover two. Matt Milano has so much range and so many gifts in coverage. He's also very smart, deceptive athlete, good in run defense. I feel like he was better in run defense this year, maybe than years past, where the Bills have been a little suspect in their run D in previous seasons, but I feel like Milano is really good, getting better in that area. I do think Matt Milano is one of those linebackers that I'd love to have on my team because he always plays his role really well, but he can also elevate a defense by doing things at his position that a lot of other linebackers can't really do. And I think he is really a top 10 linebacker because he is asked to do incredibly difficult tasks in that defense. And that's why I respect him a lot. My number 9 linebacker in the NFL today is Shaq Thompson of the Carolina Panthers. Shaq Thompson probably the most underrated, awesome linebacker in the NFL today. Shaq Thompson does not have a weakness. Even when you check his stats across the board, if you're talking about pass rushing, getting pressure, blitzing, can do that for sure. If you're talking about coverage, no question, very smooth athlete, very quick, very fast, big enough to cover big guys. Thompson can cover. If you want him to play run defense, he can do that too. He can really explode, hit a hole hard, and make the tackle. I mean, Shaq Thompson doesn't really have any weaknesses. I just don't think he has made a bunch of high-end plays and forced a ton of turnovers, but he's one of those linebackers who does his job at an extremely high level, and I feel is very, very rare in the modern NFL. He continues to get better, but he's really, really good in the pass game. Really good in the pass game, really awesome athlete, and I think super, super underrated. Like, I understand Carolina's not very good, but since Luke Kuechly has left, I mean, Shaq Thompson has really stepped up and been an awesome linebacker for Carolina. The number 8 linebacker in the NFL today entering 2022 is Eric Kendricks. Eric Kendricks, in my opinion, did not have his best season a year ago, but he's been so awesome over the last 3 to 4 years that I couldn't move him too much lower on this list. I would say that Thompson, Milano, even maybe Logan Wilson were superior players last year, but overall, you have to prove it to me over a 2 to 3, 4 year span, and it's not like Kendricks was bad. I think Kendricks was dealing with a lot lesser around him in the last couple of seasons than he was dealing with, and I feel like he will be dealing with moving forward. I feel like his defense is going to be much better in 2022. I think Kendricks is still one of the smartest and savviest linebackers in the game, still one of the best in coverage, especially in the middle of the field, dropping back into zone coverages. And he's a pretty solid, well-rounded player in other fashions and forms as well. Kendricks, it will be interesting to see how he works off of HICKS and how that goes down in Minnesota in a new system, but I have all the faith in the world that Eric Kendricks will figure it out. My number 7 linebacker in the NFL today, entering 2022, is Roquan Smith of the Chicago Bears. Roquan Smith has all the athletic traits to be the best linebacker in the NFL. He hasn't quite produced like that yet, but he's been up there for the last couple of years. I felt like last year was a very quiet, good season for Roquan Smith. Chicago's defense wasn't as good. They were missing Akeem Hicks. They were missing Khalil Mack, but I respect what Roquan was able to do by holding it down in the middle of his defense, making plays in coverage a lot more. I felt like also being able to play as a blitzer, being able to play as a run defender. I think he fits this defense moving forward very, very well because he's such a fluid and smooth athlete. I think Roquan Smith is just a really good all-around linebacker that could basically have played in any era of football. He is just really that good. My number 6 linebacker in the NFL is De'Vondre Campbell of the Green Bay Packers. You could argue that De'Vondre Campbell was the most consistent and impressive linebacker in the NFL last season. He was the highest graded linebacker in the NFL by Pro Football Focus. And the funny thing about De'Vondre Campbell is I've always kind of liked De'Vondre Campbell. Even when he wasn't the highest graded in the NFL, I always felt like he was kind of underrated because he's a rare specimen. Like, he's like 6'4" or 5", but he also has got these incredibly long arms and fills up so much space and has got pretty good speed and pretty good strength. And he's just a crazy build for a middle linebacker in the NFL today. He's a really big guy who can also move really smoothly. Like, I felt like in Atlanta, he was never really playing in the right system. But when you put him in Green Bay and you maybe limit his tasks, you don't ask him to always cover, running backs and tight ends one-on-one all the time. And maybe you just put him in the middle, make him that drop into the zones in the middle so he can cover up the space with his long arms and pick passes off and make plays that way. And then he can also see things clearly in the run game and pursue. When you limit his ability and you don't ask him to do these crazy things that are just outlandish, he instantly becomes one of the best linebackers in the NFL because he has such a rare skill set and is such a rare athlete. That's kind of how I felt about Campbell last year. It's not like he was doing all these things. They limited what they asked him to do, and he was just really, really good in that area. Entering the top 5 linebackers in the NFL at number 5, Lavonte David of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Lavonte David has been one of the best off-the-line linebackers in the NFL since he entered the league. He's a Hall of Famer in my opinion. He is getting a little bit older, but you don't see that much in his game. He's still fast, he's still fluid, he can still cover really well, he can still play the run, arguably the best in the league. He's a really good player, and he can do basically anything, play in any system. He's awesome. I think the only difference for me between Lavonte David and like the number 1 guy, you're talking about a razor thin margin here, is that maybe Lavonte David doesn't make quite as many plays. He doesn't force as many fumbles, he doesn't pick off as many passes, he doesn't sack the quarterback. Now, part of that is because of Devin White. Like, Devin White is kind of that guy by design for the defense, especially when it comes to pressure and sacks. But Lavonte David, I'd like to see him make a few more plays for me to put him at number 1 or number 2. He was my number 2 last year because of how well he performed all season long, how consistent he was, how great in coverage he was. I don't think he quite played as well as he did in the Super Bowl season and didn't have the big moments like in the playoffs. But I do feel like he's still an awesome football player and one of the smartest football players at any position in the NFL. My number 4 linebacker in the NFL today is DeMario Davis of the New Orleans Saints. DeMario Davis is another guy that's been playing this position for quite some time, but it's almost like this guy gets better every year. Like, I don't know what it is about DeMario Davis. This guy keeps getting better. And the area that I put Davis just a sliver ahead of Lavonte David is because of his impact as a power player in terms of his pressure ability, his pass rushing ability, and then also when he hits you, ooh, it hurts. Like, it hurts now. But he's also gotten better in coverage too. Like, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just getting smarter, getting savvier, experience helps, but it's not like he's the craziest athlete in space. He just knows where to be and knows where to go. And I think he can do all 3 traits at a very high level: cover, pass rush, and run defend. And there's a reason the Saints are always awesome against the run. Part of it is DeMario Davis. My number 3 linebacker in the NFL today is Fred Warner of the San Francisco 49ers. My number 1 linebacker from a season ago. I do think there's still going to be some people that rank him number 1, and I'm perfectly okay with that because Fred Warner, in my opinion, is the best cover linebacker in the league. The smartest in that regard, the craziest athlete to be able to quickly run with slot receivers, tight ends, horizontally like nobody's business. That is so rare for a linebacker of that stature and size with great length and physicality as well. It's not like he's weak against the run whatsoever. Fred Warner is excellent, but why he's not number 1? He is not the biggest playmaker, at least wasn't last year. So that's why I dock him a little bit. I hurt his stock a little bit because interceptions, forced fumbles, sacks, big game-changing plays. Fred Warner wasn't quite there as much last year, and his coverage stats also dipped a little bit, but a lot of that has to do with what they actually ask him to do in this defense, which a lot of other linebackers are not Fred Warner, and they're not asked to do what he does, quite simply. So DeMeco Ryans knows what he's doing with Fred Warner because Fred Warner makes his defense a lot better because of how special he is. The number 2 linebacker in the NFL today is Micah Parsons of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, Parsons, I don't even know if he's a linebacker. I don't even know if he's an edge player. I don't know what he is, but I'm going to put him as a linebacker because he's an amazing football player. That's all I know. He's an amazing football player. This guy had double-digit sacks. He was really good against the run. His stats are incredible. I mean, they're insane. Like, the forced turnovers, the pressure stats. Nobody thought this guy was going to be this good. Like, I was a huge Parsons fan. He was my number 1 linebacker in the draft last year. He was my number 1 defensive player in the draft last year. Like, insane. But I didn't think he would be this good, this fast. And his versatility is off the charts. This guy is like Dante Hightower if he had like 4.5 speed. Maybe Parsons even faster than that. I don't even know. He's a freak of nature. Like, it's ridiculous. He's powerful, he's strong, he's quick, he's fast, And he's not dumb. Like, his pursuit is insane. His jump off the ball as a pass rusher is incredible. His first step is insane. His pursuit to the ball in open space as a linebacker off the ball is really good. His coverage wasn't even bad. Like, you can't even really say he wasn't great in coverage. He's not amazing at this point, but he's not bad. He can do it. But I was just amazed by his versatility. Like, if they didn't have Randy Gregory 1 week, okay, I'm going to play pass rusher coach. If you have Randy Gregory 1 week, okay, I'm going to play middle linebacker this week. Like, it didn't really matter. He was just so good everywhere. But my number one linebacker in the NFL is Darius Leonard of the Indianapolis Colts. I absolutely love Darius Leonard. Now, he's not the pass rusher that Parsons is, and he doesn't have the versatility that Parsons has, but Darius Leonard, man, when you're talking about off-the-ball linebacker, this guy is just an absolute demon. I mean, his ability to create plays, like force bad plays from an offense, off the charts. The best in the NFL in terms of interceptions, in terms of batted passes, in terms of sacks, in terms of forced fumbles. He's so good at punching the ball out and creating madness. And I feel like he is even better than you would think in coverage. Like, his ability to flip his hips, his ability to cover, his ability to move down the seam with guys way faster than him or way quicker than him, or, you know, receivers. I mean, and then he turns around and he can bat down passes with his long ass arms. Like, this guy is really darn good at linebacker. It doesn't matter. He has the intensity, he has the pursuit, he has the explosion, he has the coverage, he has the pass rush, he has the run defense. He creates a ton of plays. I just think he is the complete off-the-line linebacker in the NFL. If you wanted to argue that Parsons is better at pass rushing or whatever, like, if you value that more, sure, okay. But I just value Leonard's ability to play amazing in coverage, play amazing in run defense, and then force the other team to make mistakes. And that's why he's my number one. So those are my top 20 linebackers in the NFL today. Let me know yours in the comment section below. It's Mitch. Thanks for watching. Gronk spiked the like button, and we'll see you in the next NFL Rankings video. Peace.